The year was 1986. The ocean off the coast of Yonaguni Island, the westernmost point of Japan, was calm. A local diver named Kihachiro Aratake was scouting for new dive sites. He hoped to find a good spot to observe hammerhead sharks. Aratake was an experienced diver, familiar with every reef and current in the area, but on this day he ventured into a part of the sea he had not explored before. He descended into the clear blue water, his eyes scanning the seabed below. What he saw that day would challenge our understanding of the ancient past. It was a discovery that should have rewritten history books, yet it remains a mystery, largely ignored by the mainstream. There, resting on the ocean floor, was something impossible. It was a vast monolithic structure stretching out for hundreds of feet. It was not a natural reef. It was not a random pile of rocks. This was something different. It looked like a sunken pyramid, a great stone monument swallowed by the sea. Aratake could hardly believe his eyes. He saw straight lines, sharp corners, and what appeared to be enormous tiered steps rising from the depths. It was a breathtaking sight, an underwater city of stone. He felt a sense of awe and wonder, but also confusion. Who could have built such a thing, and when? The established story of our past says that no civilization capable of such a feat existed so long ago. Aratake knew he had stumbled upon something of immense importance. He returned to the surface, his mind racing with questions. He reported his discovery, but at first few took him seriously. The idea was too radical, too challenging to accepted history. A massive man-made structure lying beneath the waves, it sounded like a fantasy, a sailor's tale. Yet Aratake was persistent. He knew what he had seen. He had witnessed a silent stone giant sleeping in the Pacific Ocean. His discovery was not just about finding a new dive spot. It was about uncovering a forgotten chapter of human history, a chapter that powerful institutions seemed determined to keep closed. Over the following months and years, Aratake returned to the site again and again. He meticulously documented his findings, taking photographs and creating maps of the underwater complex. He gave it a name, the Yonaguni Monument. He guided other divers and researchers to the location, hoping to bring wider attention to this incredible anomaly. Slowly, the world began to hear whispers of a lost city off the coast of Japan. But with that attention came controversy. The monument became a battleground of ideas, pitting a few brave researchers against the rigid dogma of mainstream archaeology. The story of Yonaguni is the story of that battle, a battle for our own past. What does the Yonaguni Monument actually look like? To swim through its underwater avenues is to witness something truly extraordinary. The main structure is immense, measuring about 165 feet long and 65 feet wide, rising to a height of nearly 90 feet from the seabed. It is a world of stone, carved with an apparent purpose and design. The most striking features are the enormous terraces and platforms. They are flat and wide, connected by what look like giant staircases. The steps are huge, some several feet high, as if built for giants. These features are not random. They appear deliberate, organized, and geometric. It feels like you are exploring the ruins of a forgotten temple complex. The precision of the structure is what truly confounds skeptics. We see right angles everywhere, sharp 90-degree corners that look anything but natural. Nature rarely works in such perfect lines. Erosion tends to smooth and round edges over time, yet here we have clean defined angles that suggest the use of tools. There is a feature known as the turtle, a massive rock formation that bears an uncanny resemblance to a giant sea turtle. Is it a deliberate carving? Elsewhere there are deep, straight channels that look like ancient drainage systems or roadways. Another section looks like a grand stadium with tiered seating overlooking a central plaza. Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist from the University of the Ryukyus, has identified numerous distinct features across the site. He has mapped out what he believes are roads, walls, and even a castle. One of the most intriguing formations is the Triangle Pool, a triangular depression with two large round holes at its edge. Its purpose is unknown, but its shape is undeniably artificial. There is also a feature that looks like a huge carved human head, reminiscent of the Moai on Easter Island, though it is heavily eroded. The sheer scale and complexity of the site suggest a sophisticated society with advanced knowledge of engineering and stonework. Exploring Yonaguni is like walking through a ghost city. You are surrounded by a profound silence, broken only by the sound of your own breathing. The water is often crystal clear, allowing you to see the monument stretching out into the distance. It is impossible to dive here and not feel a sense of wonder. You're forced to ask the big questions. If this was built by people, who were they? How did they construct such a massive object? And why did their world vanish beneath the waves? The stones themselves do not speak, but their silent forms tell a powerful story of a lost world, a story that deserves to be heard. For over 15 years, Professor Masaki Kimura dedicated his life to studying the Yonaguni Monument. He was not a fringe theorist, he was a respected marine geologist. After hundreds of dives and extensive research, he came to a firm conclusion. Yonaguni is not a natural formation, it is a man-made structure, the remnant of a city that was submerged by a cataclysmic event long ago. Professor Kimura argues that the evidence is overwhelming. He points to the high concentration of artificial-looking features in one small area. If this were nature, we would expect to see similar formations scattered randomly across the seabed. Instead, we find a dense, organized complex. Kimura's research suggests the monument is incredibly ancient. Geologists estimate that the rock it is carved from was last above sea level around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age. This is a revolutionary idea. According to mainstream history, no civilization capable of building such a structure existed at that time. Humanity was supposed to be living in small, hunter-gatherer groups. Yet here is a structure that suggests a sophisticated, organized society with advanced engineering skills. This would mean that a great forgotten civilization flourished long before the rise of Egypt or Mesopotamia. It is a fingerprint of a lost episode in the human story. Kimura has also identified what he believes are carvings on the stone. These are not just random marks. They appear to be symbols and images, perhaps a form of ancient writing or religious iconography. He has found marks that resemble animals and what could be celestial symbols. This further strengthens the case for human intervention. Nature does not carve pictures. Furthermore, Kimura has suggested that the monument may have astronomical alignments. The main structure is oriented along the cardinal directions facing south. This suggests a deep understanding of astronomy, a common feature in many ancient sacred sites around the world, from Stonehenge to the pyramids of Giza. The implications of Professor Kimura's work are profound. If he is right, our entire timeline of human history is wrong. It would mean that advanced civilizations have risen and fallen in cycles, and that we are a species with amnesia. We have forgotten our own deep past. Kimura's theory proposes that the builders of Yonaguni were part of a great Pacific civilization, one that was wiped out when the sea levels rose dramatically at the end of the Ice Age. This forgotten culture may have been the source of myths and legends of a golden age, a time when humanity lived in great cities and possessed forgotten knowledge. Of course, the academic establishment has not accepted these ideas quietly. Mainstream science offers a much simpler and, honestly, less exciting explanation for the Yonaguni Monument. Most orthodox geologists argue that the structure is entirely natural. They claim that what we see are the results of normal geological processes acting on a block of sandstone. Sandstone is a layered rock that tends to break along straight plains. They argue that the terraces, steps, and right angles are simply the product of erosion and tectonic activity. Strong ocean currents and earthquakes, they say, could have easily fractured the rock in ways that mimic man-made architecture. One of the leading voices against the man-made theory is Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University. Now, while Schoch is known for his controversial work suggesting the Great Sphinx of Giza is much older than believed, he is a skeptic when it comes to Yonaguni. After diving on the site himself, he concluded that the monument is composed of solid, natural bedrock. He argues that he saw no evidence of tool marks or blocks that had been cut and moved into place. In his view, the entire structure is in situ bedrock, meaning it is one continuous piece of stone that has been shaped by the forces of nature over millennia. The mainstream argument dismisses the seemingly artificial features as a form of pareidolia. This is the psychological phenomenon where our brains see familiar patterns like faces or structures in random shapes. They suggest that we are seeing a city because we want to see a city. The turtle is just a rock that happens to look like a turtle. The stadium is just a trick of perspective and shadow. They believe that advocates for the man-made theory are allowing their imaginations to run wild, ignoring the simpler geological explanation. According to this view, there is no mystery here, just a fascinating but ultimately natural rock formation. This scientific consensus is a powerful barrier. It means that Yonaguni is officially classified as a natural site. As a result, there is little funding for further research into the man-made hypothesis. Young academics who might be interested are warned away, told that pursuing such a controversial topic could ruin their careers. The doors of inquiry are effectively closed. The orthodox view is presented as fact, not as a competing theory. But is it really so simple? Are we really to believe that nature, by pure chance, created a structure that so perfectly resembles an ancient city, complete with streets, stairs, and plazas? When we look at Yonaguni, we are inevitably drawn into the world of myth and legend. Could this be a real, physical link to the fabled lost continents of our ancient past? Many have connected the monument to the legendary lost continent of Mu. This was a vast, peaceful, and highly advanced civilization that was said to have existed in the Pacific Ocean thousands of years ago. According to the stories, Mu was the motherland of all humanity, but it was destroyed in a great cataclysm and sank beneath the waves, taking its incredible knowledge with it. Could Yonaguni be an outpost of this legendary lost world? The theory is, honestly, pretty compelling. The location in the Pacific, the immense age suggested by the geology, and the sophisticated architecture all fit the description of Mu. Perhaps the builders of Yonaguni were the survivors of this great cataclysm, or perhaps the monument itself is a remnant of that sunken land. Some researchers have pointed to the supposed carvings on the monument as further evidence. They believe these symbols are not just random marks, but a form of proto-writing, a lost language from a forgotten age. If we could decipher them, they might tell us the true story of who built this place and why. These theories also bring up even more radical questions. If a civilization 12,000 years ago was so advanced, where did its knowledge come from? Some have suggested that we may not be looking at the work of humans at all, or at least not humans as we know them today. The legends of Mu, and other lost civilizations like Atlantis, often speak of gods or beings from the stars who brought knowledge to humanity. Could Yonaguni be the work of these ancient teachers? The sheer scale of the stone blocks and the precision of the construction seem beyond the capabilities of primitive people. It is a mystery that really pushes the boundaries of our accepted reality. While these ideas are dismissed as fantasy by mainstream scholars, we must remember that many things once considered myth have turned out to be real. The city of Troy was thought to be a legend until it was discovered by Heinrich Schliemann. Perhaps the stories of Mu and Atlantis are not just myths, but faded cultural memories of a real historical catastrophe. Yonaguni sits before us as a tangible piece of evidence. It is a silent witness that hints at a past far more complex and mysterious than we can imagine. A past filled with lost knowledge, forgotten peoples, and perhaps even visitors from another world. One of the most profound mysteries surrounding the Yonaguni Monument is not underwater. It is the silence on the surface. Why is there such a lack of official interest in this incredible site? One would expect governments and major academic institutions to be flocking to Yonaguni, eager to investigate a discovery that could potentially rewrite human history. We should see international teams of archaeologists, geologists, and historians working together to uncover its secrets. Yet the opposite is true. The Japanese government's Agency for Cultural Affairs has shown little interest, refusing to declare it an important cultural artifact. It remains unprotected and largely unstudied. This official disinterest is, honestly, deeply suspicious. Is it because the monument is simply too challenging? The established academic world has built its reputation on a specific timeline of human civilization. The idea of a highly advanced culture existing 12,000 years ago would shatter that paradigm. It would mean that generations of historians and archaeologists have been wrong. It is often easier for institutions to ignore uncomfortable evidence than to admit a fundamental error. The silence is a defense mechanism, a way to protect the status quo from a radical and inconvenient truth. The lack of mainstream media coverage is also telling. A potential lost city beneath the waves should be front-page news around the world. It is a story with all the elements of a blockbuster mystery, adventure, and a discovery that changes everything we thought we knew. Yet, the story of Yonaguni remains on the fringes, confined to documentaries and books that are labeled as alternative or pseudoscience. This is how uncomfortable knowledge is controlled. It is not censored directly, but it is marginalized, pushed to the side where it can be safely ignored by the majority of the public. And so, the Great Stone Monument sleeps in the deep, its secrets kept safe by the ocean and by human indifference. The questions remain unanswered. Who were the builders of this incredible place? Were they our ancestors, part of a lost chapter of our own story? Or were they something else entirely? When did they build it, and with what forgotten technology? Why did their world disappear? Until we decide to look with open minds, until we demand that science investigates this mystery with the seriousness it deserves, Yonaguni will remain an enigma. It is a ghost from our deep past, waiting patiently for us to remember.